Greetings, you beautiful beings, and welcome to This Week I'm Learning, the podcast where we learn interesting things throughout the week and bring the best back to you. This is episode 92, recorded July 20th, 2022, and I'm your host, Brandon Vader, also known as Captain Dracanis, also known now as Captain's Bed. More on that later. Down below me, Fake Farang, also known as Tim Rhind. Next to me, as always, the ever-venerable Seeker4761, also known as Colton Roper. How's everyone doing this week?
Very good.
Doing well. Can't complain. No one will listen. It's fine.
Busy.
We were kind of listening before the podcast. A little bit. Not really.
Just a wee bit. I was watching a YouTube video on Mario Maker 2. So, kind of.
Actually, I think everybody was quiet getting ready for this.
For once.
I didn't hear anything in the other group. No talking. Yeah.
Yeah,
It happens once in a while.
I started rewatching Babylon 5. It's horrible and cheesy and awesome, and I forgot how much I love that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, season 3 kind of like the timer went off to start prepping for the podcast, like right in the middle of an episode. I didn't quite time it right, and so I was catching the last little bit of that episode, which ended in a little bit of a cliffhanger. Which it's all right.
Finish this crap so you can
I
finish
didn't
it.
need to sleep tonight anyway. Well, I've never actually finished the series.
Huh.
It's another in a long string that I get like 3/4 of the way through, and it's like, oh, this is really good, but I need a break for now.
You know, at least it's still a watchable series. Good stories. There's one series I recommend you never watch again. I for some reason I think I liked it when I saw it on TV years ago, and that's probably because there wasn't a lot of science fiction on TV, and that series was called V. Don't go back and watch it.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. No,
I remember watching the first couple episodes of E and like, oh, this is really interesting. Oh wait, this is based off of a book. Let me read the book. Oh, the book is really good. The TV show, not so much.
Yeah, very soapy.
What was that sci-fi where the crew is like living in a living ship? I know that's kind of
Farscape?
general. Is it Farscape? Yeah. No. I want to start
No,
with
there was another one too.
Well, Farscape is the one I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah,
Canadian European one. This German English, this German accent woman. And
Lex?
the thing looked like a bug. Yes.
Lex
is
Lex. Probably it.
Yes. That's what I thought you were talking
okay,
about.
that is so
that's
horrible to watch now.
Yeah.
But it's so bad. It's almost good.
Yeah.
Like
that one's the real perverted one, isn't it? Like really perverted.
Sort of like a Hitchhiker's Guide, but not as funny. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
It's like
and
it would be better if they could
raunchy.
do a little bit more.
They go raunchy.
A little more raunchy.
Yeah.
I think like the first episode has like
bad that show was.
Really bad stuff.
Until I'm. Yeah. Oh yeah. I started playing it for loot because I kind of remember the story, but not like all the little details.
Yeah.
And it was kind of after the disappointment that was Star Trek Discovery. And so it's like, all right, let's watch something that we know is going to be bad and just laugh at it for being bad.
Yeah.
I think we made it like 17 minutes into the first episode.
Yeah, there's a part in that first
nope,
episode I'm like, wow, that's on public television? Man, Canada rocks.
Right?
I mean,
I swear, all of the best shows.
They had a series called Casanova, and it was a late night. It was around 10 or 11 o'clock, and I had this disclaimer. I had to watch it in secret. Anyways,
Okay.
I saw a lot. for that era. Okay, I digress.
Sorry, I got us way off topic. I'm a little off the rails.
What topic? We haven't even come up with a topic yet. Speaking of topics.
Well, that's the point. Yeah, speaking of topics, Colton is going to tell us, so artificial intelligence is a thing, and art is a thing, but is AI art a thing? Should I try and guess it?
Not yet. I know you know what it is. Wait like 2 minutes to spoil it. Give the audience something to look forward to. Or not. But what is something to look forward to is Tim's going to be talking about performance and safety under pressure. And no myths either.
Under pressure.
Do. Oh, honey. Oh, we were doing completely different ones.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think mine was the real song.
Yeah, I don't know your song. I knew Brandon's. But anyways, Brandon is going to do Strays for Strays and some stringing follow-up. That's a mouthful. Strays for Strays and some stringing follow-up. Say that fast 5 times. Okay. I don't no idea what you're going to do.
Not even going to try.
String theory. Okay.
Ooh, that would have been a good one, but no.
No, okay.
All right. Colton, tell us about your potential AI artist.
What do you think it is, Brandon?
Dolly is gone beta.
Boom. You're right, but that's only part of it. But first off, I just want to make I'm going to complain to Microsoft. Calibri is a font is fucking annoying as shit. With its lack of difference between a capital I and a lowercase l, it is so difficult to fucking figure out. Writing my prompt so my colleagues could fucking understand what was supposed to be said, it was maddening. Instead of AI, I had to do the I littles like A-L. I'm like, what the I know what they're going to say, but if they say L, it's going to ruin the whole thing. So it's fine. That's just a mini rant. I'm allowed to do those occasionally, too. But anyways.
Yes, you are.
Behind me, you see an image. Do you see an image? Let's see here. How about I turn off my...
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do this instead. Boom.
No, we see it.
That's an image, right?
Yeah.
I'd call it an image.
Chickens in water?
It's,
yeah,
yeah,
Chickens
definitely.
in a peacock, maybe?
In a galaxy? Galaxy of water?
Would you call it art?
In a galaxy of water?
Not
If I
art.
saw that on someone's computer background, I would go, cool, you're into DeviantArt.
Okay. Here's another one. How about this one? Would you call it art?
That looks like just a schmeary picture, but...
That looks like another chicken.
Yeah?
Or is this
You're
a
right.
Rorschach thing?
A little bit. But I do have to say,
it's
different, right? But I have to say, this last one freaking belongs in the Louvre, honestly. And it is actually really cool. Do you see the chicken?
I see
part
the
of
chicken,
one
but I
eye
also
and a
see,
beak,
like,
maybe.
food that it's made out of?
Looks like a black hole.
Food that it goes into? In a black hole? And
Yeah, again, belongs in the Louvre in Paris.
yeah, I mean, that is a conversation piece for sure.
Sure, exactly. What is art anyways? But you will probably actually be seeing more stuff like this due to the fact that AI art generators are like a dime a fucking dozen now. This kind of surprised me a little bit because I knew about Dolly, because that was kind of the big one, but just a very quick Google, and they're fucking everywhere. There's hundreds of websites. I wouldn't say they're as comprehensive as Dolly, but there's just a massive amount of them. Very, very impressive, actually. And there are obviously definitely some better ones than others. Now, the 3 images that you saw before me were made by what Brandon guessed, Doll-E. Specifically Dolly 2, which has made the internet kind of go like crazy and on fire recently. So in Dolly, you can type pretty much anything into the prompts. Select a specific art style, and then select the algorithm you want to use, whether it be artistic or coherent. So pretty simple. The first 2 images in the prompts in those first 2 images were Space Chicken in the fantasy art style with the artistic algorithm selected. And the last one behind me now use the same prompts except using the heavenly art style with the coherent algorithm, which I guess the difference between artistic and coherent is that the coherent tries to actually make things make sense, whatever that means in terms of algorithms. So obviously that makes sense, is what I say.
He does.
Kind of. I mean, it's the space heavenly chicken. I don't know. Who knows?
I'm trying to figure out where the chicken actually is. Now I'm seeing another chicken. I thought the blue part was the chicken's beak and the eye, but now where the black hole is, it looks like I'm seeing a yellow chicken with a yellow beak.
Exactly. It's art. See, we're talking about it as it's art. DALL-E was trained with millions of images, and the algorithm uses like billions of parameters, like 4.5 billion different parameters, how it uses to actually kind of put the different objects into some sort of artistic image. It definitely fails occasionally, as you've seen in these images, because some of the chickens seem to not have a head, or whatever the hell is behind me. Could be a space chicken down here in this area. Could be a chicken over here. There's random food that doesn't make any sense, but it's there. Looks like a cornucopia, maybe? A burrito? An open-faced burrito? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was
Chicken
thinking
salad.
like a street taco.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's saying something about society, is what it is. For example, if you
And
were
then
to
a
prompt...
rabbit head in the background.
Yeah. See, it's art.
Right above your head.
Boom. Right here. It's great for our audio listeners. How does it make you feel? How do you feel about it? But, so if you were to prompt... Yeah, right? If you were to prompt DALL-E with, say, a horse riding an astronaut, you would actually probably get an astronaut riding a horse because, yeah, it knows the basic objects, horse and astronaut, but it has trouble kind of making them work together, and it just does its best guess. It kind of does a Google thing of like, do you mean this? Obviously, you didn't mean horse riding an astronaut because that's silly. It's the other thing. Again, search that in DALL-E. It's freaking hilarious. But I would argue it's honestly pretty impressive when you really think about it. And obviously some people would call what it produces possibly even art. But the U.S. government specifically does not agree, apparently. At least not yet. So a man named... Huh? There you go.
Do they have
You've already gotten it. So a man named Stephen Thaler is suing the U.S. Copyright Department, office, whatever, for denying his AI, which is called Creativity Machine, authorship on an image it created. Thaler is a Missouri physicist. He's PhDs, pretty smart guy. He's kind of been doing this apparently for years in terms of being an advocate for AI rights is kind of what this guy's MO really is, apparently. He believes in some pretty futuristic ideas like AI should be given patents for things they create, as well as official ownership of the art that they create. And he has actually forced governments to make decisions on that. Obviously, the U.S. has made their decision, but an AI he created called Dabus invented a very specific food container, and a patent was given to it in South Africa. So some countries are like, oh, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. But some countries like Australia, they're fighting hard against that because AIs aren't human and what is art and all kinds of fun shit. So combine cases like those and wanting to make artists of AI, and you get some interesting ideas to think about. I mean, we here at TWIL have already done some pieces on amazing advancement of tech and AI and algorithms in the past. So kind of makes you wonder... The fact that governments themselves are not like, this is a bullshit argument, we're not even going to talk about this. The fact that they're taking it seriously enough to hear the cases. You think about like all those sci-fi stories that we talked about earlier, including, Star Trek, iRobot, Blade Runner, and you start asking, and like we're in the beginning of I wouldn't say a revolution per se, but it's like a philosophical paradigm shift in some ways. Just the fact that governments are taking it seriously is actually it's interesting to me. That's kind of new in the last 10 years. Specifically, like the realness of AI, the sentience of AI, so on and so forth, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And along with Dr. Thaler, it just seems like real advocates are starting to appear. Not so much like rah 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 fighting in the streets kind of thing, but they're like, well, I mean, it created it. There's no human involved. Why would the creator of the AI or the algorithm, who had no involvement in the art per se, be credited with ownership of said art? It's kind of an interesting copyright problem when you start thinking about it. Which kind of goes to believe, you got to think about a lot of the laws that are out there that are kind of antiquated. I mean, they're made from a time in history where stuff like this wasn't even fathomed, at least not in any real serious thoughts. Makes you think about tech and the law and how as technology continues to speed out of control in terms of development, is the law going to keep up and so forth? Robots' rights in the future? I don't know. AI rights? Maybe. But again, we just seem to be kind of living in the beginning of those type of questions. So like, I mean, could be a discussion topic. Like, at what point does AI become a life, or can it even become a life? Fun shit like that. I'm thinking about the Star Trek episode where Data, or what was it, Picard, kind of gives a whole rousing speech about Data being real, and it's just like, we're not there obviously, but we're in the preliminary stages of that. So kind of interesting.
You can see it on the distant horizon.
I don't want to offend anybody, but it's sort of like the abortion arguments.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite the same, because you're talking about final life, but you start to get into the same type of arguments.
It's an interesting idea when you're thinking about what constitutes a life. We've also talked about, I think, was it me?
Sentience.
Yeah, what constitutes life in other areas? How would we recognize something in faraway lands or faraway planets as a life per se? It's very interesting when you think about classifications.
Or when we talk about animal cruelty, one of the things they used to talk about is how sentient is the animal. I mean, like, is it cruel to step on a worm versus doing something to an animal that's more sentient, like a parrot, a dog, a cow? But
well, part of it
how
is
far down,
when you kind of think about what we eat, in terms of, obviously, if we were in a survival situation, blah blah blah, but just in general, think about, like, we don't eat horses anymore. At least we don't try to. We don't eat elephants. We don't really do that kind of thing. Partly because we recognize some form of awareness in them. Yeah. Same reason we don't like to eat dolphins and whales.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're probably delicious, but we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the PETA sign that has all of the animal faces on it?
Mm-hmm.
And it says, "Where do you draw the line between food and friend?"
They drew a line.
Yes. It's like right here, right just before the horse, just after the cow.
They say pigs are very smart too, but they taste really good. I can't give up bacon.
Yeah, I can't give up bacon. I'm sorry, Wilbur.
And ham.
I am not to toot my own moral horn, but I mean, I raised pigs for 4-H in Colorado, and it got harder the more I messed with them. I mean, I grew up on a ranch, so they were still delicious, don't get me wrong, but it's more like, oh, that was my friend, and we not even shit. I mean, thank you for providing sustenance, but I feel kind of bad now.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept. What is life? What is not? Yeah, it's
I actually
an
can't
interesting
eat
paradigm
lamb
shift.
because I raised 3 lambs for 4-H.
Well, my concern is even with dogs. In some Asian countries, they'll still eat dog. Now, I don't like it, but what bothers me is how cruel they are to them before. If they eliminated that, then I'd have to say, well, I don't have any foot to judge them.
According
of some of the things I eat, but beating an animal and keeping it in a small cage and beating an animal to terrify it before you eat it, I mean that's over the line.
It's actually a thing in Vietnam. Actually, Cody put me on a book called, was it Into the Shadowlands? Something like that. Or something like that. Doesn't matter. Point is, there's a whole story about Vietnam in it, about how the older generations are the ones who will still eat dog because it's a cultural thing.
Now people have them as pets.
Well, it's not even that. It's that too, but it's also it's the younger generations. It's again, it's a paradigm shift in society of what. It's not a moral thing either way because food is food in the end, but it's just interesting when you're talking about a different, like, it's to the point where just you have like a grandparents who are fine with it because that's what they grew up on, and then you have the young, like the grandkids are like, the hell's wrong with you? Like, no, that's the family pet.
Disgusting.
I mean, come on, that's my. It's not even, it's a friendship thing. It's just interesting. Like in 200 years, are we going to even be eating live creatures at all? Because it's all about a paradigm shift. Who knows? I don't know.
No, they've talked. They're actually making artificial muscle these days.
I could go down the street to a Burger King and get
in a lab.
An Impossible Burger.
They're actually making meat.
Yeah.
In the laboratory now.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Be interesting to think about. Anyways, I like the art Dolly makes. Is kind of what all that kind of comes back to in the end.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. There are a ton of AI generators because I just did a quick try and it's like, wow, I gave it something fairly easy. Evergreen trees with snowy mountains in the background at sunset.
Yeah. It looks like that.
Any mountains, but
if you didn't know any better, would you know the difference between like an impressionistic artist and an AI in this case?
Yes, I don't understand some of that.
Oh hell no.
Yeah, 2 red stripes or something like that. All of a sudden, that's worth millions of dollars.
That's going to be a topic of mine as well because the high art thing is very interesting too. But what also is interesting? Unless you're going to keep talking, keep going.
I was just going to say it's like the wasn't there one of the museums that somebody like set a banana like on an empty shelf or something, and then like tied their shoe, forgot it, walked off. And people were like, "Oh, what could this mean? This banana on a shelf?" And everybody was doing that, and I don't know if the guy ever like went back for it and was like, "Oh, hey, there's my banana," or whatever became of that. But I do remember that
should have put his name on it. He probably could have made $1 million.
Well, again, the high art world is utterly fascinating because there's a lot of what do you call it? Money laundering and stuff going on in it because you could use tax write-offs and stuff. There's a lot of. It's utterly fascinating when you look into it. Like I said, it'll be a topic of mine one day. But Tim, how about you tell us about some performance and safety under pressure?
Yeah. This is not as thought-provoking as your topic, but just an experience this week, and what it got me Google researching. To confirm whether or not I was correct or not. Anyways, this week I went to Bangkok with a friend to get his front shocks oil changed on his motorcycle. And I was remarking to him on the Thai Facebook groups for my model bike, the Thai touring Facebook groups, that they seem to be all over the place with tire pressures. Whereas I always believe you should go with the pressures recommended by the manufacturer. I said the myths are not safe, and varying tire pressures greatly is only it's only basically used for track riding tires or off-roading. And this is where it gets interesting. I said this to him, and then what do you know? The shop that did the shocks adjusted his tire pressure for him, and he had already put it to the specs before our road trip. And my friend is not a light guy. He's heavy, but he doesn't look it. But he's a foreigner. He's not a Thai weight. So without asking, the mechanic lowered his pressure to 24 on the front and 26 on the rear. Now, the vehicle sticker on our model of motorcycle states that it should be 29 on the front and 33 in the rear. Sometimes bikes have specs for with or without the extra load of a passenger or baggage. But ours says for both. With a passenger, it's still going to be the same pressure. Now, the shop owner said that the ride is too hard with the recommended pressures. Well, the ride may be harder, but tires aren't meant to be suspension components, in my mind. Well, we weren't going to argue with him there, but this prompted me to see if my beliefs are correct. I believe that if you put in too low a pressure, your steering will be affected, fuel economy, and cornering could be dangerous. So I did my Google research. Lower pressures, this is what I found out, lower pressures than recommended, even by a small margin, can increase the amount of heat generated. Being Thailand, where it's already hot, this is not a good idea. It will affect the rubber compound in your tire and accelerate wear. The contact area of the tire is changed. Performance will be affected along with handling, such as turning, cornering, and wet road safety. It also can affect deceleration rates. Now, his new tires by Pirelli didn't have a recommended tire pressure. However, they stated a maximum recommended cold tire pressure of 38 psi with a specific maximum load. That doesn't mean that's the tire pressure you should have in that tire. It's just giving you the maximums. So all the information I found indicates you should go with the motorcycle manufacturer's numbers. Should you not have those numbers available in the manual or on a sticker, then you should check with the tire manufacturer. In normal use, tire manufacturers' recommended pressures won't vary much from the motorcycle manufacturer's numbers. In this case, he had some Pirelli tires. But this is one of the funny things about Thailand. Sometimes people do things, I have to say, half-assed. They just don't follow their normal rules. Pardon me, sorry. They believe in myths, or they want to modify things, and they don't. It's like they don't believe in engineers. That's just only in some subcultures, like maybe a motorcycle group or something like that. They seldom use torque wrenches and pressure gauges. I had my tires filled up recently by others in the past and found they don't even use a gauge. And I had to release the pressure because the pressure was like 50 psi in my tires. It was crazy. Recently, I had a flat fixed at a small mom and pop garage. As it was a holiday, the bigger places weren't open. I was kind of concerned that whether or not he tightened everything, and I know he never used a torque wrench. So a few days later, I went to the local Honda dealer. I asked him, while he was cleaning out my transmission, I asked him, could you check the bolts? Had a tire flat. Can you check everything's tight? Well, this was so bad. He found one of the rear linkage bolts was missing and the other one loose. And I had just ridden a half hour on the highway. So, yeah, I was lucky I didn't have a major disaster. I could have lost my whole rear wheel assembly. So yeah, that's my research on tire pressures. Needless to say, my friend has put his tire pressures back to where they are. I don't understand why people think that they can mess around with what's recommended. Because, I mean, yeah, okay, it makes your ride might feel smoother, but it doesn't mean it's better. I mean, you ride on a soft tire. I mean, and then what happens when so many things can happen. It's just not right. But that's very common around here, evidently. I mean, that's a pretty big jump down to 24 psi from 29 and 33. So, anyways, I know there's not a lot of room to discuss this, but I just wanted to explain my experience with tire pressures and how I have verified what you should be doing with them.
No, that's good information, and yeah, especially on a motorcycle, you really don't want to change your tire pressures because it changes the size of your contact patch. So the more air you have in, the less the tire deforms. So the smaller contact patch you're going to have as you're cornering, especially. And then if you're underinflated, you've got a much larger contact patch, and it's really not going to feel right if it's too low.
Well, that's
Yeah,
on
the
a
heat
city
problems.
bike with those tires. And a dirt bike, and again,
Yeah, that's why
I might be,
specified
I might be,
road.
yeah.
It doesn't apply to racetrack bikes, and it doesn't apply to some dirt bikes.
Well, it's
But they,
if you're
but
if you're riding
even
in
a dirt bike
in
will
dirt.
have a manufacturer's recommended
Oh yeah,
pressures for
and
dirt.
they also
And you just don't make it up and go outside
no,
those
definitely.
numbers.
You at least try to keep it within a few percentage points, and at least this is what I was taught, because maybe I'm part of the myth thing here, is depending on what you're riding, like if you're going to be riding in more muddy conditions, you want to bring it down a couple, maybe a PSI or two, so your contact patch is actually bigger, allows for better traction and everything. If you overinflate by a couple percentage on your front tire, though, and you hit a rock at full speed, you're gonna blow it out. But if you keep it a little bit lower, theoretically, it'll be okay.
But
on a road though, definitely no. You don't play with that shit at all.
0.3 of a bar. I don't know what that converts to in PSI, but that's what they say for those types of bikes. Only 0.3 of a bar.
Yeah,
variation from the manufacturer.
Yeah.
But
Plus
I mean,
the amount
yeah,
of where
you can say
you're
the contact
replacing them
patch
anyways all the time.
You can say the contact patch is
About
bigger, but it doesn't necessarily give you more traction all the time.
4 psi, and yeah, I mean off-road is definitely different rules. I know quite a few adventure bikers here that carry um, these little CO2 canister air recharges, because what they'll do is when they get onto the highway, they'll have to fill their tires up to basically their street level.
Yeah.
And then when they get to where they're going to off-road for a while, they drop the pressure fairly considerably, from what I understand. But
yeah, I mean you can even get
off-road
you can even
totally
get
different rules,
if you aren't
like
if you're using a road tire and you put less pressure besides the heat generation and that you're actually probably getting less traction. You are getting more heat because there's more flexing on the sidewalls.
If it's a road tire, yeah. But if it's if so, adventure bikes usually use some pretty specific tires.
Yeah.
So.
And then if you on a road tire, if you deflate it and then you start going on curbs, it's just not your tire shape is just not proper. No. I mean you're it's hard to explain, but
it feels sloshy.
You're flexing on the yeah.
That's why I've always explained. It feels sloshy.
Mm-hmm.
You want and you guys are bigger motorcyclists than I am, but it seems you want to have the quick. You want it to be responsive because it's a freaking motorcycle. You might need to be like turn super fast real quick to save yourself from dying.
You know how on a new tire you have those little pieces of rubber, like little sticks sticking out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like from the manufacturing process. Well, they were deflating the tire, and they showed them the tire, and they're deflating it so those sticks would get worn off. And I was thinking, no, that part of the tire shouldn't be hitting the road until you're cornering.
Really, never.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. If it's.
I mean, and you have to really.
Yeah, if
be
it's that,
cornering
that's
on
just you have a flat
curve.
tire. It sounds
so it's like you don't flatten it out that much. You don't need that much big of a contact patch. You know, it's not meant to be that way. Not meant to ride that way. But anyways, they can go ahead and do it. I won't be doing it. So I think I'll move on. Now, sorry, I got the wrong intro here. Brandon.
Let's get
What do you
stringy.
want to talk? Let's get straight. Okay. Strays for strays and stringing follow-up. Let's do the strays.
Yeah. So, have you guys heard of a game called Stray?
No.
Yes. Oh my god, it looks amazing. It looks so good.
Okay. So, for those of you who don't know, it's a third-person cat game where you play a stray cat as you try and make your way through, I think they call it a cyberpunkish inspired city. I don't have a ton of information on the game. I actually only just heard of it today. It only released yesterday on PlayStation and Steam.
Mm-hmm.
But I was having a meeting with a coworker earlier today, and he mentioned that the game he just got yesterday was Stray, and he said it was a blast. He had a couple beers and just kicked his feet up on the coffee table and played it on his PS5, and said it was highly entertaining and a fairly casual game to play. And it's like, okay, that's cool. So as I was looking it up a little bit afterward to try and figure out, oh, is this a game that I'd play or not, or one of the top stories right now on it is that the game studio has actually reached out to a few animal shelters and has partnered with them, and given them free game codes so that they can do raffles and donations and stuff and give away these game keys. And there's actually a lot of streamers out there that are also partnering with their local animal shelters to put on a stream and take donations and turn around and give that proceeds to the animal shelters. So I don't know, I thought that was cool, and it was especially timely because while I was making dinner tonight, I had the back door of my apartment open, and in struts this cat. Like, he just owns the place, and I'm just like, what are you doing here? And then it starts like trying to attack my dog, and so I go over and grab this cat, and I'm like Dr. Eviling this cat to like calm it down, as like anytime my dog even gets like within a foot of me, it starts like hissing and like claws start coming out.
Oh, you were adopted.
Like, you fucking walked into our house. Like, are you serious, you little asshole?
That's why they're the
like
best.
Dr. Eviling it and trying to make food, and I've got like cat hair everywhere, and it's like, God, it's a good thing I'm not allergic to cats anymore. Because when I was a kid, I was allergic to cats. But like, the owners, I can tell, are like our generation, or maybe even like the upper of the what is it, Z's? I don't know. It's college age kids. Are they Z's? Oh God.
Yep, we're millennials.
Now I feel old.
Barely.
Okay. So, yeah, there's two tags on this cat's collar. One had a QR code, and one was like, what was it, like RFID 911 or something like that was the other tag, basically saying that the cat was chipped.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, great. So I've got to like hold this cat that's trying to get off of me and attack my dog, to grab my phone, to take a picture of the tag, so then I can get the information. Not super well thought out. Like, just the classic like tag that has, Fluffy and then a number. That's the QR code is nice, that's cool, but get off my lawn.
Like why did you seriously though, why did you bother, like, when you just put it outside and close the door?
Because it was owned by somebody. It might have been lost.
Because
but most people,
it had a collar,
just let their cats roam though. There's a lot of people who let the cats roam.
Yeah, which fucking pisses me off. Because my dog is not allowed to go outside down the street with me without a leash. Yeah. Yet people can just turn their cats out. And
when was the last time you were attacked by a cat? I'm just saying. As a cat person, I'm deeply offended by this conversation. When was the last time you were attacked outright, just out in the world? Or threatened, or seriously threatened by a cat? Threatened by a cat?
Like last year.
Well, then you need to be better with cats, apparently. Because I've been threatened by dogs multiple times. Never a stray cat.
You just need to get better with dogs.
God no.
You know,
They're smelly and they want too much stuff.
Okay, let's not start this.
You know the only kind of dogs that have ever. You know the only breed of dog that has ever actually tried to attack me?
What, Chihuahuas? Yep.
Chihuahuas and Pomeranians.
Fucking Chihuahuas. Like, I don't think I've ever had problems with Pomeranians. It's literally Chihuahuas. Like, I can go into someone, you know, when I was doing service calls, like, I could go into someone's house and they'd be like, oh, my dog doesn't really like people. And I'm like...
That's because you're a bad trainer.
Yeah, whatever. and, like, you know, their dog would be, like, barking outside. And, like, the dog would come in, look at me, and I'd just bend down. I'm like, hey, buddy, how's it going? And they're just like... Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Twice
I fucking love
I was
dogs,
attacked in Internet, Colorado by dogs. Twice. There's a little nip, but...
Seriously?
Yeah. Didn't do any damage or anything, but I was like, not allowed to kick you. But I would never do that either. Because I was in their territory, and for some reason, they didn't like me. I understand. Dog's got a dog. Dog's got a dog.
I have a lot of...
No, like...
My wife actually is amazed at how dogs respond to me. And the only, once again, the only ones I've had a problem with really is Pomeranians. There seem to be
little dogs do tend to be slightly more aggressive because they kind of have to be. I really don't dislike dogs. I'm just not a dog person. And going with what Tim said about bad trainers, it's half the time it's the trainers I really don't like. And
yeah,
socialize. They don't socialize the dog, and they're pretty neurotic people themselves, or they let the dog become alpha. The dog runs the house.
Yep.
You know, just because a dog's small, it's still a dog. It still needs to be treated the same way as you would a big dog. And that's the problem. They treat it like a baby instead of treating it like a dog. Anyways, that's my rant. Yeah, and I do like cats. But I'm extremely allergic to cats. So that's not an option.
Oh.
Yeah. I'd be puffy. I'd be on allergy medicines. I'd be wheezing, and the whole works.
But anyways, support your local shelter.
But
I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Rescue, don't buy.
How we fix the inbred problem too.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to admit, like, Dr. Eviling that cat made me kind of want a cat.
Yeah.
See, I'm not gonna lie.
It go,
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not gonna lie. I could see Tim doing that because he's got the look down. It would be amazing. Tim, please do that one time. Do it for Chris. Do it for Halloween. Exactly. Yeah.
You'd have to like
get the freaking suit and just you can be a fake cat since you're allergic. Just like make it as neurotic looking as possible and just hell yeah. Oh my God, you'd be a hit.
Animal.
Be a hit.
Too funny.
Oh my God, hairless cat.
Yes.
Oh.
Those are so ugly.
Horrid.
People love them.
That's an example of breeding gone wrong. You know.
Hypoallergenic.
No, they aren't.
Yep.
They aren't.
It's the dander. I think that's one of the myths that people used to think that it was the cat hair. Like it's actually the dander you're allergic to.
Yeah, it's the dander and it's the licking of the skin and then the dander. Yeah, but anyways. But those cats can't be outside whatsoever. They're not survivable. You probably have to keep your house really warm and all the time. And
give them a sweater.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
I do have one last fun cat fact that reminds me of. You want to talk about inbred? Long-haired cats. Well, that, but also, if you get them like the Angora fur cats, their hair is actually so long they cannot maintain it by themselves.
Oh, that makes sense.
The cat tongue was specifically designed over,
Yeah.
Genetics and all that fun stuff to work with the fur of that cat.
Mm-hmm.
As selective breeding came around and we started going, hey, this cat has longer fur and this cat has longer fur. Let's
I want a
match them
pretty
together.
kitty.
The tongue length really wasn't changing. Well, specifically the little like
The little grippy
cilia,
things they have.
like hooks. Yep.
Huh. I actually didn't know that.
On big cats will actually cut you. Like there was a video. God, I'm going off on another tirade. Sorry. There was a video I was watching the other day that was this like big cat rescue center, where basically they would try and like rehabilitate big cats that were brought in illegally and.
Oh, you mean
put
like
back out
big
into the
cats, like
wild.
tigers and shit?
Like, yeah, cheetahs, tigers, lions, all the stupid things that people import because I have money now.
Yeah.
That don't understand what. Yeah. This guy was in there in the cheetah pen. And he was like, oh, yeah, here in a minute we'll have, I can't remember the cat's name, but, so-and-so's going to come by and join us. And, he's one of the few that is a permanent resident because he is so docile and so people friendly, he would not survive being released to the wild. So, sure enough, this
doesn't end
this
well.
cheetah comes over and acts just like a big cat, like rubbing on this person, and then actually starts licking his elbow at one point, and it was like 3 licks, and he's like, "Yep, and here's why you don't let big cats lick you," and he was bleeding.
Oh wow!
Because of the little spiky things.
Yeah, I read somewhere that like I think it was a lion. Like they stripped the meat from bones from that. They evolved it to just get everything from it. It's actually incredible.
Wow.
Yep. But I mean, it's also their way of maintaining their hair, and they spread the oils and saliva over their hair, and that's how they stay clean and healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's how I get allergic.
Anyway.
TWIL cat facts.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm turning into a cat person.
Got it.
Cats and
but,
dogs get
yeah.
along.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they can. But, so on to stringing update. I just printed out this little coaster.
Nice.
Hey, what's that logo of?
Dual layer.
Nice.
That is the Tech Pirate logo.
Hey,
Yay.
I know about that. We know about that here at TWIL.
Yeah. Our friends over at Tech Pirate that are the 2 of the 3 of us on the stream.
We're our own best friends.
Yeah, imagine that. Yes. We're our own best friends because nobody loves us.
Forever alone.
But, just got the TPU kind of
Oh, TPU. It worked out
figured
good for
out with temperature testing and... Huh?
TPU is what?
TPU is thermopolyurethane, I think. It's so this specific stuff is actually pretty flexible. So, like, here's a iPod case that I printed out of it. If I pop the top off, I can squish it. It's, I wouldn't say rubbery because it doesn't have that kind of.
Oh, the sheen, whatever you want to call it, oily sheen.
I don't know if I could print that with
my. Yeah.
I have to find out what you use.
Yeah, it's.
Malleable?
Yeah, Hatchbox TPU is what I've been using.
Hatchbox, okay.
Hatchbox. Please sponsor me, please. I've already bought like $200 worth of filament.
Brandon.
Yeah, I have a problem.
You can't print your way out of that. Actually, theoretically, you could.
I could.
You could actually.
You could join my Patreon that I just started. Patreon.com/captainsbed. So that whole captain's bed that I talked about. Yeah, I now have a live stream set up of Captain Dracanis's print bed, or the captain's bed. And that's twitch.tv/captain's bed. But yeah, I have, let's see, how many followers am I up to?
So while you're looking that up, how long have you been a 3D printing enthusiast
10.
to the point where you actually have a 3D printer? How many weeks has it been? Are we like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks? Something like 5 weeks, right? God, time flies when you're having fun, apparently.
No, I don't even think it's that. Hold on. Because I got it. I physically grabbed it before my trip to Vegas. And I think I had it up and running 23rd. So.
June?
Yeah.
So basically 4 weeks.
3.5 weeks.
3.5 weeks.
Almost 4 weeks.
So, and I know you mentioned this last podcast. How many hours has there not been something printing in your house altogether? Like a realistic estimate.
Realistic estimate? Maybe 48 hours total
In 3 weeks. That's incredible.
How's your electric
You've taken so hard to this hobby. I love it.
Have you seen electric bill yet since you started using?
Hasn't even been a month yet.
Yes, actually I did. I did get my latest electric bill. It has only gone up $20, but that was also with the little printer, and only half.
And only one
month.
little printer. Now you got 2 printers. Love it.
Well, okay, I'm not running the small printer.
Oh, okay.
I'm only running the big printer. The small printer I'm actually going to give to a former coworker, so that she can print D&D models for her and her husband.
Mm-hmm.
She's super excited about it.
Then
I'm sharing.
We'll bring her on the show and be like, I bought 4 printers. I have a problem.
Yeah.
I live in a 3D printed
Right?
house of all plastic.
Now I have a resin printer.
Yeah, and a metal printer.
That would be cool.
They have those
That would
too.
be so fucking cool to have one of those.
Yes, they do have those.
And I would love to have a laser cutter, laser etcher. I'd love to have one of those. One that can cut and etch.
There are 3D prints that with, I think it's $50 worth of electronics, and printing out basically a spool of filament overall with all the parts and stuff. So filaments, depending on what you buy and where you buy it, at least here in the U.S., about $25 for fairly consistent stuff, and if you want something that's a little more specialized, it's $35, and then it goes way up from there. I was actually looking at this iron impregnated filament that will print through standard, like the filament was designed to go through like just a MakerBot, and it will actually make your prints denser because it's 30% by volume of iron. But it's basically like the iron they put in cornflakes. Like teeny tiny particles. Have you never done that experiment, Seeker?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. Homework for anyone who hasn't tried it. Get just your standard cornflakes. Make sure it has at least some iron in it on the nutritional facts. And then what you do is you take a mortar and pestle and crush up, half a cup. Crush it up. Get yourself a pretty powerful magnet. Stick it in, and you'll actually be able to pull out iron filings.
Really?
Like iron powder.
Oh shit! I never knew that.
Doesn't go red, rusty, or doesn't oxidize? Oh.
Well, I mean, if it's corn flakes, hopefully it's dry.
Yeah. And it's so small, even if it did, you wouldn't see it.
And probably by the time hopefully you're eating it by that point.
Oh.
It probably would go bad otherwise. Anyways, interesting.
But
I did not know that.
So this, yeah, give it a try. It's interesting stuff. I did that in science class in high school, and it was like, wow, that's special.
Weird.
Why?
Right?
And it's like, because your body needs iron.
You got to get that metal in you.
Okay.
Is that what this all
Yeah.
is about,
I
Brandon?
mean,
you
since
just
we're
have
not
an iron
drinking well
deficiency,
water.
and that's why it's all leading towards your 3D printer with the iron filament? Try it. Try to make a
maybe
joke. Failed.
I'll just start eating the filament.
Just like spaghetti. You'll just melt it down
But-
a little bit, turn it into spaghetti, put some meatballs on it, it'll be fine.
I think the wood ones sound very interesting too.
Yeah, the wood one is
There's
actually
so many,
pretty cool.
there's so many specialty filaments out there.
Wood colored.
This is actually printed in wood, and it's wood color. It kind of feels like MDF board. So
Now
it's
you're
got
not getting
kind of same-
that bad banding you got with the other printer on this new one, right?
No,
Yeah.
it's quite a bit better on this new one.
The wood
and
one, you
especially
can
like
also sand
as
it
I-
down too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, even the plastic stuff
Yeah.
you can sand down, but the
Yeah,
wood
for
is
models,
way
yeah.
easier to sand down,
Mhm.
and it's supposed to take stain as
Mm.
well.
Mhm.
So, I'm going to be printing out a big D&D character dice box. I designed it on one of my streams last week.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's going to be out of wood, and then I've actually got a gold. Now it's just plastic, but it is this very shiny gold color that I'm going to use the technique I learned in the coaster to do a multicolor print on this D&D dice box. I am actually going back in. I need to stream it just so that I can update it. But I'm going to stream in some lines around the top of the box and then around the bottom of the box
Mhm.
that will have the kind of gold filigree looking stuff. And then I've got some aqua in that I might use for the lettering. I'll have to see how it looks. But I might use the gold for that too. But now I can also print out my own trophies. Because why not?
You're lucky your
I need
filament's much
participation
cheaper.
trophies. I'm a millennial. Isn't that the whole thing?
Yeah, here,
Ruining the
filament's
trophy
about
industry.
$40.
Oh yeah, and I guess that would be the other update is I posted something up on Facebook and somebody was like, "Oh, look at Brandon out here, single-handedly bankrupting Games Workshop, which is the maker of Warhammer 40K," and
Yeah, fuck them.
that was kind of funny because I don't think my printer will do like this level of detail for printing. But this is my painted Warhammer model. Like I painted it this weekend. A friend of the stream, Ben Gunn, came over. He was like, "Oh yeah, here's how you do wet brushing and dry brushing and washing, and here's all these different like techniques, and here's how to make it look like even better. You basically take your finished like clean piece and then you use a paint wash of some accent color to make it look almost dirty." So my guy, I painted kind of a muddy base and then washed him in like this brown that had some actual like almost dirt particles in it. So I mean, it looks like he's just been trudging through the mud and the dirt, and use some like
Nice.
green in the exhaust ports. And
I gotta try to find something for you. There's another website like Thingiverse, and it's all pretty well all figurines, and some and to incredible detail for different different genres, different games, and some of them are free and some of them many of them are pay, mind you, but they're very, very good.
Oh.
Very good. And even sometimes they even have them on like Kickstarter. for their next
think...
next design that these artists are going to be making the figures for.
I
Maybe
bet
you
it's
found
My Mini Factory.
it. Could be, yeah, could be. I can't remember the name, but yeah, you can find. So you're not bankrupting them; you're paying somebody. I mean,
Well, but it's not the... So after listening to this friend, nice little hair flip over there, Mr.
I need a fucking haircut.
Yeah, you
After
do.
TWIL.
Just come up to Montrose.
Cat Stevens.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no. This friend was telling me all about the lore of like Warhammer 40K and like telling me about what Space Marines were, because I was asking, like, okay, what is this guy? Like, what's his thing? Okay, well, I kind of remember some of it from the little bit that I played Dawn of War Soulstorm, and it's like I kind of remember some of this, but like I don't know any of the backstory. And so he was telling me all about it. And, what really got me is when he started explaining the orc wog, and basically how they're like human scientists have like pulled apart their guns, and it's like
It shouldn't
a
work.
trigger and a spring
This fucking
and like
shouldn't
a
work.
crystal on
And it
the
somehow
end,
works.
and it should. No physics can like define how it works, but when the orcs hold it and believe in it, it is the wog flowing through them to make whatever their tech is just work because they believe it works. And I'm just like, I need to build an orc army.
My favorite thing about the orcs, I'm kind of familiar with it just because it's fascinating lore and the books are amazing, but my favorite thing about the orcs is that if they paint, they believe in painting their stuff red because they think it makes it go faster, and it does.
Because the wog!
Because of the wog. Because I love that universe. It's so dark. But before we go on yet another tangent, Brandon,
Yes.
I believe we are at the hour mark.
We are indeed at the hour mark, and I have gotten us onto many tangents.
All the tangents.
But before I break into the outro, gaze upon the tentacled abomination.
Ooh. Now we're an 18+ stream.
Just wait for you to do the hentai stuff.
No. No. Because that cannot go on a stream, and that cannot be seen
Captain's
on top of
Bed
the server
only
by
fans.
my child.
Captain's Bed
Yeah.
only fans. I bet you that's never been done. Or if it has, be an innovator, Brandon.
What, just watch a, like the time lapse of like...
Don't.
Yeah.
My new favorite saying, don't yuck their yum.
Just don't
People
put
are
your
into that
fist like
shit.
that.
That's amazing. One time.
You know what? No. Colton, that can be an all-you thing. You can get the 3D printer and
Boring.
be like, this...
I'm going to make all the money. Just from a bunch of distinguished gentlemen or whatever. A man of... fuck, what was... it doesn't matter. Who cares? Maybe one day.
Let's wrap up.
Okay. Well, outros first. Tim, where can we find you?
Our Thai Journey Facebook page, YouTube, Messenger, whatever, Instagram. But I'm sorry, I'm not very active. But if you had to contact me, that's how you would.
Cool. Colton, where can we find you?
My name's Colton Roper. I go by Seeker4761 on all the socials. I also have a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Seeker4761, where I stream pretty regularly. Yeah, that's all I want to talk about this week. Just check me out or don't. Brandon, what about you?
So I am Brandon Vader, also known as Captain Dracanis. I can be found on... let's see, I did finally make a Captain Dracanis Instagram. So far, it is mostly pictures of my 3D prints, but there will be gaming stuff and possibly other stuff. I don't know. Probably mostly
Anti-figurines.
3D printing, to be honest. You can find me on Twitch as Captain Dracanus. You can also find my printer bed at Captain's Bed on Twitch. And yeah, I also started a YouTube where any of the Captain Dracanus videos are going to be posted up, and that's just going to be Captain Dracanus. So this silly printer stream that originally started as just me monitoring things, and then Colton going, "This is really interesting, just put some copyright music behind it, and it will make money." I hope so. And if you're interested in donating, patreon.com, Captain's Bed. You can be one of my bedmates. That is what my Patreons are going to be called.
Love it. Oh, they have to come up with different tiers of stuff if you ever get big.
There is.
Oh,
there
no.
is. There's already 2 tiers. There is the Captain's Bed, where you can just basically get polls and kind of keep up to date on what's going on. And then there's the All Access, which any of the STL files that I'm testing or printing or I've designed are going to be available for download there, even if I don't release them to Thingiverse. You can directly interact with me, and yeah, that's basically the full access. Again, All Access bed member.
Dracanus will do anything.
All access.
Anything you ask.
Just about anything.
I got something to tell you when you're done. When we're out recording.
Oh, when we're done recording. That's okay.
I'm not going to stop recording.
It's nothing I've done. It's just something I've seen.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, that's most where you can find me. And then also, Colton and I also write articles on the techpirate.net, where we need to write more.
We do.
For you video listeners, there is our Tech Pirate logo embossed in the top of this coaster and the bottom of the coaster.
Hell yeah.
Yes, that's enough of that. All right. Thanks for joining us on this episode of This Week I'm Learning. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts, as well as on YouTube at This Week I'm Learning. For your social media peeps out there, you can find us on Twitter at ThisTWIL. If you'd like to contact us, you can, of course, send an email to twill@techpirate.net. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Okay, I just had a bad idea for a OnlyFans print.
Well,
where you would have basically your tentacled horror, right? Tentacled abomination, and like have the time lapse and design the model so that like as the tentacles are being built, the lady being entangled in them is also being built, and I don't know.
When I was thinking into 3D printing, I searched different Facebook groups. I ended up in this one Facebook group, and I left it shortly after. It seemed all they wanted to do was print penises. I don't joke. Mini keychain ones.
Not surprised.
Big ones.
Okay.
It was just too much.
I mean, to be fair, with TPU, I mean,
there's options. There's options.
Yeah, but
I mean,